Hello, welcome to episode 6. And finally, something has happened after 5 weeks of filling time. So, what happened, Sam?
Well, Manny Machado signed with the Padres for 10 years and $300 million, and the White Sox did their Arsene Wenger impression and said, "Well, we nearly signed him. We offered him nearly the money,
But
and
yeah,
said there's some options at the end." They pretended like they were going to give you more money, and then didn't give you more money.
problem is now they're stuck with all of his friends and family, like
Yeah,
all the people he's ever known,
yeah,
and that's now the White Sox team for the next year.
yeah. That's the 25-man roster in 2019 is Manny Machado's friends, but unfortunately he's a few thousand miles away, playing
Well,
in
and,
yellow
and
and
his
brown.
and his brother-in-law.
Yeah, and his brother-in-law, would apparently be a selling point for people. I think a lot of people wouldn't like the in-laws being
No,
on their
sp-
team, but
spending
maybe that's
every minute of every day with the brother-in-law. But yeah,
yeah,
it's a record, actually, isn't it?
yep.
Actually, a record. It was Stanton, wasn't it? I think Stanton contract was the record, and this is like all Americans.
Isn't this bigger than Stanton? Actually,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
it is. Yeah,
no,
maybe it's
no, no.
broken
I
then.
meant Stanton's bigger. I think this is the
Is it?
biggest free agent deal because the Stanton one wasn't free agent.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
um,
You sure?
yeah. Stanton was 325 million, 13 years.
Oh, right. So I was wrong then. Yeah.
It's because it's a deal and he moved. Um,
Yeah.
Which yeah, it's going to be a record for, well, who knows really? It could be a record, like it could be broken by the end of this podcast, or it could be another like 3 weeks. We've got just under a month until the start of the season. The
I mean,
season
three
starts.
weeks would be pushing it a bit.
Yeah, that would be 3 weeks. We'd have to do three more podcasts of guessing what Bryce Harper's doing.
Yeah. Oh, the signal's going a bit rubbish again, to be honest.
It's a bit problematic,
I
and
don't know
why is
why it
that?
started happening. But, well. Um, yeah, it's actually... Oh, shit. It's not actually on Baseball Reference yet, the contract. I wanted to have a look at it. But, yeah, do you know it's digital?
Uh, I can't actually remember.
Because they are, aren't they? These sorts of deals.
I'm not sure if it is.
Because that's when you end up getting like
Yeah,
really bad contracts. Like, I don't, well, don't know how good he's going to be, but probably not as good as he is now when he's like 36.
well, I think possibly the most interesting for people who are retire is that the Padres now have handed out the biggest free agent contracts in each of the last two off seasons.
Yeah,
And this one it's slightly weird. I mean, I think some people knew that the Hosmer deal seemed silly at the time, but I got the impression from kind of wider baseball media, the Hosmer deal was like, yeah, good clubhouse chap, and the Mercado
right.
deal, there's a bit of like, isn't this a bit too much money? And it's just a bit weird that that's the perception, is like that is because it's so wrong. It's so unbelievably far from how it actually is.
Yeah, well, I actually saw talking about the Hosmer stuff of everyone saying how he's a good clubhouse guy. I think I saw an article. Actually, it's not very helpful to actually know who wrote it or what, but saying basically suggesting that the Mercado deal is bad because he's he's a bad clubhouse
That was
guy.
that was Tom Verducci on Sports Illustrated, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
Because I
yeah,
saw that
that was
article.
actually yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting take, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, it's an opinion for sure. I mean, it's not good, but it is an
But it's
opinion.
that sort of thing though. It's like, I don't know how you can know that much.
No,
How you can know that everyone hates him. Because I do think that it is actually pretty important, the whole
it's worth
clubhouse thing.
something. Yeah, it's definitely worth something, and
I'm yeah,
but it's also not worth Eric Hosmer's contract.
no,
So that's kind of
and
like
and also that's one guy is not going to make the clubhouse cohesive and like
no.
stuff. because I mean, like when you've like followed a team through a season, like we've done with the Giants and stuff, you do see how that like affects stuff, don't you?
Mm,
Like
yeah,
there's been times when clearly they've not really been getting on, like well, last couple of years at points, maybe more 2016, and it's just something goes wrong, they like lose a game, like the other team comes back and wins near the end or something, and then everyone just slumps for like a week.
yeah, and you get a bit more of the kind of like people throwing their arms in the air when stuff goes slightly wrong, and I think things snowball a little bit more.
Yeah,
Um, it's easier to know who's a helpful guy than who's a bad guy, I'd say.
yeah,
Like there are certain guys, and I'm not doubting that Hosmer is that. It's just you now look at what the Padres infield's going to be, and he's probably the weak. He could, well, we don't know about Urias and Tatis really, but there's a good chance that long term he's the weakest part of their infield, and they gave him $144 million. So that's
yeah. I
just
mean, it is looking that way. I mean, Urias wasn't particularly good, but yeah, like you say, they're uncertain. But if they are worse than what Hosmer has been, like, well, last year, then the base league might just forget all of it, to be honest. Like, those two is their whole rebuild.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, 720 OPS last year is like, if Tatis and Urias are worse than that, then, you know, just forget about competing anyway. Rebuild again. Trade Machado immediately.
yeah. Trade Machado for well, probably nothing on that contract. Weirdly, he would struggle to get a huge amount, as we saw with
Yeah.
Stanton. Um, yeah, it's a strange deal in that because you get him at his prime. I think some of the takes around it have been a bit um, misplaced. Let's say there's been the kind of the normal free agent take that's, oh well, if you're not competing, don't get a free agent because they're not going. You're still not going to win next year with one free agent, and that would be true, but it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter for the Padres because he's still. I think next year's his age 26 season.
What, Machado?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Um, it's like oh, he's going to be. Yeah, it is. In his age 26 season, 2020 is his age 27. So it's like it makes so much sense for them.
Yeah, yeah, like we've said before, that's like, what, like 6 years he could still be like as good as he was last year, like an MVP contender.
Yeah.
They could get 6 years of that, and
Well, that's not an unreasonable like
no,
guess either. It's like, and he's elite defender. He's one of these guys.
well,
Well, it's
third
like,
anyway.
yeah,
That's
which is
that
why
is the
he
good thing
should
about
be.
this. The Padres getting him actually is these, well, long term at least. It seems like he's definitely going to be third base, which I
Yeah,
think makes a lot more sense. Especially if you've got a good shortstop, obviously. But
yeah.
like a team getting him as their main shortstop, I'm not sure how much I like that.
I know. I'm not massive on that at all. I yeah, that
Because
seems a bit, particularly
even
because you
though he
probably
is
have to
such
move
a good
him.
hitter
You
at
know?
shortstop, I think with the defense and stuff combined, as a shortstop, I don't know if he's like a top three shortstop.
And he's a Gold
It's
Glove at third. It's
Yeah,
just
like
like,
at third base, he's probably, well, maybe Arenado, but he's definitely in the top three third basemen, I'd say.
yeah,
Arenado, Bryant, and him probably in whatever order. Probably changes a bit year to year. But shortstop, I'm not sure he is top three because of just how bad he is defensively.
yeah. And there's just an element of like, we know he can be a third. We know that he's going to be amazing defensively. And for a team that's got a shortstop, it fits so well. I mean, it's like I really think it's almost the perfect move for the Padres. Um, like more so than Harper, even though I think Harper's probably a better player because they've got millions of outfielders at the moment. Not that would have stopped them. Like they're not going to give App to Hunter over Bryce Harper, but it's just like just the roster fit is ideal. The other thing
Yeah.
I think, or I wonder if the Padres, other than Harper, which they're supposedly still in for, what would you do next if you were San Diego?
What you mean this off season or just in
Um,
general?
well, I guess this off season, and then maybe a hypothetical if they're
I mean, I think
alive in the
obviously
middle of
it
next season.
depends on contracts that people are willing to take. So like, those Dallas Keuchel, Gio Gonzalez are still free agents, aren't they? Assuming booking for like 4 years.
Yeah, I would imagine so. The fact they're still on board would
So I'm
suggest they
not
are.
sure whether I'd, if you could get one of those on like a 2 year deal until like all these like young pitching prospects come through. But I don't know how much I like getting either of them on a long deal in the position they're in at the moment. So I don't really know what you'd do. I'm not sure I would
No, I
if you
think I
try and
would
get
either.
Harper.
Yeah,
If they're willing to spend on Harper, then yeah, you do that. But otherwise, I don't know if there is that much else because the NL West is looking quite weak. Because well, like the Rockies haven't really made enough moves since the Daniel Murphy thing. Um, I mean, the Dodgers have lost a lot of guys. They're going to get Corey Seager back, sure, but like I think the NL West is looking pretty weak. Like they, even without adding anyone else, they've got a chance of well, at least competing for a wild card. I think.
yeah, because they get a lot of games against some potentially pretty bad teams.
Yeah, and it's the other thing of if they are going to be good or close to good, they're going to need some of the young guys to perform, and it's sort of like, well, if the young guys aren't going to be good, then the free agent signings are sort of pointless anyway. Like
Yeah,
you need for the next like few years, you need some of those guys to be good anyway.
yeah. Well, you don't want to say they locked their payroll up with Keuchel and Gio Gonzalez, and then none of their young guys are any good. Then they're just
Yeah,
stuck in probably like 500 mediocrity
yeah.
with a near maxed out payroll. It just would be like a disaster.
For
Uh,
Manny Machado's prime as well.
yeah, and Eric Hosmer with his occasional 2.5 WAR season. Um,
Yeah, I mean he was better than that in 2017, wasn't he? He was
yeah,
due a good one, to be fair.
yeah, he does go up and down. That is his career pattern.
Really bizarre, but it's like a league average hitter, and then like an all-star, then league average, and it literally like alternating seasons, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole of his career. At some point, got to break that one way or the other.
Yeah.
Would you consider trading? Because I've seen a few suggestions that that's what they should be doing, is maybe trade for an ace.
I don't know who though.
Well, there's obviously the Kluber Bauer stuff, but that's not.
I
I
thought
don't think
they
the
I
Indians
thought
are
they decided
interested.
they're keeping them now.
No, I don't think the Indians would be keen on that at all. And I don't know. The Syndergaard rumors seem like they would have to be ridiculous now because the Mets are trying to win.
Yeah,
I
I
can't.
just
No one else
can't
comes to
see
mind.
anyone that they could get without trading away a load of prospects. Um, that they should probably be keeping at this point.
What about if they were willing to take on Zach Greinke's salary?
Yeah, well, yeah, they
He's,
they, they wouldn't take much.
I mean, that's not a.
This is a thing. This is where the question of how much their max payroll is, like how much are
Yeah,
they like going to go up to? Like,
that's the
would they
huge.
be willing to sign Harper and then take Greinke's contract as well? Because in that
Because if
case, they're like,
do that,
yeah, they're probably possibly the favourites in the NL West then.
because I mean Zach Greinke's still good, and I go have a quick look. I don't know. I can't remember quite how long's left, but there have been rumors of the Diamondbacks wanting to get rid of that contract. Um, when's it expire? Okay. Oh wow. Yeah, it goes on to 2021. So that's 3 years at 35 million a year.
Is the thing though where it's like with the Baumgartner stuff where there's like a perception that he's bad now, but it's because he's not as good as they before they signed the contract. Like, wait, so yeah, he was when he was a free agent, he was coming off his 1.66 ERA year. So
Yeah.
basically, he's being overpaid, but he's not bad still. Like
No,
last